Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living with Dementia. We're proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. Some of our programs are recorded and some are made available for viewing through our YouTube channel for future use. I am Martha Brown, your host for today's activities. I'm always tickled when Peggy Speir comes to be with us. Today, she's bringing us Artful Moments, and the topic is a heavy one. It's emancipation, and I can't wait to see what this is like. Peggy, she's all yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And Martha, I'm glad your voice is back to
Thank you.
welcome me on. All right, let me start from the beginning. So we have, you might have realized over the time, we have two real main stage. We have one main stage and then a big show, but on a lesser stage, exhibitions that rotate about every 3-4 months. And so last week we talked about Cristina Fernandez. That is one of our exhibitions right now. It will be up for about 3 months. But the main stage show shares a gallery. The gallery's right next to it. Is entitled Emancipation. And so this exhibition was co-organized with one of our curator here, and then another woman, and her name is escaping me right now in my brain. Anyway, they worked together to select 7 living artists, all who happen to be Black. And they were not selected because they are Black, but because their artwork deals with the issues and topics surrounding emancipation, enslavement, things like that. So there are 7 living artists that are featured within this exhibition. Some artists have multiple artworks, some artists have one artwork, but they all were basically asked one prompt, and it was, what does emancipation mean to you? And so when we get into it, I'll point out what artwork was made specifically for this exhibition or what was pulled in for this exhibition. But it's a pretty heavy topic, and it's a variety of different points of view. It's a variety of experiences, a variety of mediums. And so Maggie Adler, our curator of this exhibition, did a really wonderful job of showcasing these artists within the context then of historical art. That artwork was either in our collection or that is on loan to us, but artwork that was made during the time of either the Civil War, right after the Civil War. So here is one of the artworks that the artist's name is Hugh Hayden. He was specifically asked to create an artwork for this exhibition. He was commissioned by the museum, and it is a 3D print of a Black man sitting on an Adirondack chair. For context, this was the artwork that inspired him.
Okay.
This is something that's in our collection. I believe we've talked about this artwork in the past. If not, or if you weren't at that conversation, just a quick little download on this particular artwork. This is a bronze statue. I have a lap size version that was 3D printed, so our visitors are able to, experience those with sensory needs are able to experience it by running their hands over it. But it's a bronze figure of a Black man sitting on a tree stump with shackles, a shackle on one wrist and a shackle he's holding in the other. There are 8 versions or 8 casts of this sculpture. To our curator's knowledge, we are the only one that has a key that unlocks the shackle on his wrist. The key is dedicated to the regiment that was the only, or one of the, if not the only, Black regiment in the Civil War. So when John Quincy Adams Ward created this sculpture in 1863, this was a pretty revolutionary way to depict a Black man in art. Typically, Black men had been portrayed as on their knees, looking up, groveling kind of for their life or for the approval of their master. So the fact that he is sitting, he is not, the shackles aren't joined together, one of the shackles are off, was a pretty wild way to see something that had not been, this was not at all how Black men had ever been portrayed. So it was revolutionary at the time. And then, and at that time, it was what emancipation was. While he didn't have his shackles combined or, joined, he still had them on. So, what is emancipation? Is he looking forward? Is he looking behind? What does this mean? It was a very complicated, it still is, very complicated portrayal, discussion, sympathy, whatever, of where the country lied. So here, Hugh Hayden wanted to talk about what emancipation looks like in the 21st century. And here he is using the same pose as this man. What do we notice is missing?
The shackles.
Shackles are missing. Same exact pose. He's looking ahead. Look what's on his feet. We've got some flip-flops.
Flip-flops, yeah.
We got shorts. We got a shirt. Yep. And he's in an Adirondack chair. Why do you sit in an Adirondack chair?
Because they're hard to get out of.
They are hard to get out of.
They are.
You're sitting typically in a chair like this when you're relaxing.
Oh, okay.
Not when you're wanting a core workout, trying to get out of it, Don.
That's right. That's right.
No, but an Adirondack chair, it's speaking to the Adirondack Mountains. So that's someplace where people would go to relax. But you'll see these on beaches. I know our neighbors have like a ton of them in their front yard for every grandchild. I mean, and people will sit and relax and enjoy their day or whatever they're doing. So this here is Hugh Hayden's representation of what emancipation looks like now for a Black American.
Peggy?
Yeah.
When they're doing the plastic extrusion, do they have to have a carved something to start with?
No, it's 3D printed. So if you're versed at all in this, it's a technology that is changing constantly. It's all computer graphic animated, and then the printer just prints in layers.
Yep.
So it can build it up. It's a very fascinating. There are different filaments. So for example, this has pieces of metal running through it. The one that we have, he's working with a company called Envision. They're based out of Garland. And this particular 3D printing company has worked with the Met, with other international artists. So they're pretty versed in using 3D printing for art creation, art display. We work with a company called Three Delirious out of, I want to say they're like Arlington. So it can be expensive depending on what the filament is, the size of it. But this one is it's not much bigger than the actual sculpture itself, but you couldn't put it on your lap, but it's not life size.
Okay.
I don't have the exact dimensions on me.
Couldn't put it on your lap, but it's not life size. Okay. That's
yeah, so just, kind of giving you an idea of where that falls.
Okay.
It's bigger than this, and this is only about, I want to say it's 9 inches.
9 inches, okay.
So,
but I don't, sorry, I don't understand it, Peggy. You say this is a 3-dimensional print.
yes.
So does there not exist a figure that you can actually take in your hand? Or
no, it's printed off of a printer. So that's why but the scale can vary to whatever you need it and choose it to be.
Okay.
So he chose it to be, it's on a pedestal. It's not on the floor. A picture not in situ is very confusing. You can walk all the way around it on the pedestal. And I would say it's probably 2 feet tall.
3 feet, okay.
2 to 3 feet tall. It's not huge, but it's not life size. You can't tell in this that it's not life size. And he typically works in wood. So this was a new medium for him, working in printed plastic. But now he's exploring this idea of what would this look like in other materials, which is really cool when you have an artist who is asked to create something, and then that kind of takes them on a whole new journey of what their art career looks like. So this is one of those pieces where this was the first one, but now he's really pushing it with other materials.
Peggy,
Oh, yeah.
I think
Um,
Yetta and I are having the same problem
Okay.
in
So,
figuring out, is this in computer? Does the
so,
computer conceptualize it and then
well,
print it?
so, do you mind if I speak, Peggy?
Go ahead, please.
So yes, it's drawn on a computer with a program called a CAD program, and then it's made to sent to a device called a laser printer. And that laser printer builds the image up in three dimensions from the bottom up.
Mhm.
And so it starts off, and it may take hours or days depending on how big this thing is. But it starts off, it leaves all the whole, you don't have to, it's not carved at all. It comes out with openings the way they are.
So for example, this is hollow.
Oh,
This
yes,
print is hollow.
yes.
You can print solid, you could print and it's gridded on the inside. The different printing speaks to the how solid the piece is. So
That's
like
correct. That's absolutely correct.
some can be
So-
heavier. This is really light. We want it light because people are putting it on their laps. I have no idea how much this one weighs.
Well, and like I said, and you can the technology lets you make things, anything from plastic up to in some cases metal or materials they can build. Actually, there's a spaceship they launched recently that was made entirely out of a laser 3D printer fiber materials. So it's very, very cutting edge technology.
And it's constantly evolving.
It is, yeah.
For example, my dad is a cardiac surgeon and they will print pieces that they're putting in hearts.
That's right.
They're finding a gajillion different reasons why 3D printing is a quick, cost-effective solution for other things.
Right. Just consider it.
You're talking about prosthetics, that's like a whole nother world
Yep.
3D printing's going into.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of people that have gotten like artificial forearms and hands
Mhm.
and how they work, but it's just is amazing.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Every engineer I ever know wants one, and
Yeah.
they used to cost thousands of dollars. Now they're in the hundreds of dollars range for small ones.
And
So-
most of the Fort Worth public libraries have 3D printers in their fab labs and things.
Oh
like
yeah, that's good.
that. So you could even, if you wanted to, have your try at it if you were interested enough. And so even to back it up before it works to a computer, the artist scanned the existing sculpture. So there's it's almost like a register gun that you would.
Oh
scan
really?
from
Okay,
it.
so they do.
Yeah, so you can scan, you can start you
Scan
can
it in,
create
okay.
something from but because this is not ripping, this is appropriated from an existing sculpture. This was scanned, and then those scans were then altered within the computer program to then print.
Okay,
So-
well, that's good. That's interesting. I didn't realize that you could scan 3D objects in like that. That's
Yeah.
excellent.
In fact, this is how all of these are made. We have about 8 different sculptures from our collection that they come and they scan. They used to use an Xbox 360 camera. Now it's like that technology has changed so much in just the last 8 years. One time they were just using their cell phone. So, it's a variety of different ways you can scan it. I'm not exactly sure how he scanned this one, but yeah, he's working. I mean, this is the exact replica of what this was. So you can see the appropriation.
So do they sell small copies of these in the store there?
No,
No?
we don't. Mhm. I know that's asked all the time of any of our 3D prints.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that would be a great way to make money.
Well, yeah, I
but
mean,
that's also, this is an artwork. So
This is an
unless you
artwork,
want to
yeah.
pay a pretty penny,
Oh,
he wouldn't be, that would then, it's
devalue
definitely-
it.
it's a whole thing.
okay, never mind.
It's an idea, but it's because this is a 3D print, this artwork is the 3D print, then you're theoretically selling the artwork, which
Okay.
you want to get real meta about it, we can.
Sotheby's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, put it on auction. All right, so so this is one of those sculptures when you first walk into the exhibition that kind of greets you. It's amazing. It's very
Yes.
powerful seeing it.
Okay, can I ask one more question about it, Peggy?
Mhm.
Does the fact that he's getting out of the chair mean that his emancipation means he's getting up out of the life he had before or anything like
I
that?
think the focus, see, this was part of the critique of, or the analysis of this artwork. Is he getting up? Is he sitting down? He's not standing, he's sitting on a tree stump. We don't really know. Here, we don't know if he's getting up or sitting down, but everything around him indicates relaxation. So it's not necessarily speaking to, am I getting up to wander, or am I getting down because I'm being told to sit down? It's more speaking to, I can relax now. I have clothing. He's not bare chested anymore. He's not wearing like a loincloth, so to speak.
Oh, okay.
But he has everything that would make him a dignified person.
So it's more like he's sitting down as a show of his freedom, yeah?
It's more the chair, the clothing, and the shoes that we're focusing on.
Okay.
And he also has facial hair that's been groomed.
Yes, he does.
That exists on the original sculpture as well.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, truly the only difference to him himself are the shackles are gone and he's wearing clothing.
Oh my.
And he's got flip-flops on.
Flip-flops, yeah.
Which
How
you're
appropriate.
someplace nice if you're wearing flip-flops, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so moving along, we have this is a site-specific sculpture. Her name is Maya Freelon. She is her artwork typically focuses on the celebratory part of Black history. And so this is an installation made out of recycled tissue paper. And she was, as a child, very connected to her grandmother and growing up, and her grandmother gave her tissue paper that she then started creating art out of. So she was really interested in something simple can be made to something beautiful. And we've seen tissue paper in recent history with the Justin Favela that had the piñata fringe all on the wall. So this is just another example of, it's organized, but there's loose and free, and it feels happy. It feels celebratory. The tissue paper itself is associated with celebratory things, birthdays, piñatas, things that you're colorful things. So
it makes me want to go read an Eric Carle book.
Yeah, you're right. All the patchwork. So this exhibition is after us traveling to 3 other venues. This artwork won't be traveling. She will make one for each of the venues.
Okay. So you're gonna keep this one permanently?
I don't think we're acquiring it, but because it was built specifically, she built it here. When we were installing, she came in and created this. I mean, she had plans and ideas beforehand and then actually got to install it. This was built specifically for the wall we told her this would go on, and the space that so that will be the same scenario for each one of the venues.
No, it's colorful, Peggy, but otherwise, what is it? What am I looking at?
It's just an installation that's happy and celebrating. I know I asked the curator the same thing. She's like, it's just for no other reason than it's just happy. And this is a Black artist who's often dealing with the happier side of Black history. And I don't know if it's tied to any particular event or part of history. It's just a Black artist wanting to celebrate not always the sadder history of Black history in America.
Okay.
So Peggy,
Yeah.
it says the title is Fool Me Once. Does that mean it's full of something?
Fool, like, oh, and I spelled it wrong. Huh.
Oh,
Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
I'm
No,
sorry, I just was
It's
I thought maybe
supposed
it was full of candy or something. I don't know.
no, like a piñata. No, it is not. It should be FOOL. That is
Okay.
totally a typo on my era. Or on my part. She did, I'm looking down at my notes right now too. There is a loose connection to, there's a history of Black culture creating quilts and working as a community on quilts. So there is a little bit of that history with the patchwork, but it's not directly referencing the quilts. But that is a happy and a social part of Black culture in America historically. So this is something that it's a nod to. All right, so we'll leave FOOL me once. And we'll go to another, this is a sculpture that was made for the exhibition, but it's part of a larger series that this female artist has been dealing with. She any guesses, actually, this is fascinating. Any guesses on what this jack is made out of?
Plastic.
Well, it says aluminum.
Yeah,
Aluminum. Oh,
aluminum.
powder coated aluminum.
But what it's something that she's repurposing.
Bottle caps.
Stools.
Stools. Ding, 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 ding. You got it, Martha.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's, again, hard to tell with scale, but it's about maybe 4 or 5 feet tall. It's large. It takes up a big presence. You can tell that it's taking up a larger presence on the floor just by the size of the wood grain. Stools from the common meetup area in a prison.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
So her artwork is often dealing with incarceration and family, and how incarceration, she's the daughter of a man who was incarcerated, and how that impacted her childhood, how that has impacted her life. And so she's using something that seems playful and useful, a jack, which is a toy, you know, that you would play. It's a historical game, so something that enslaved persons might have even been playing when they were, you know, on different plantations. And then now it has this tie to incarceration in jails, which in the United States, Black Americans are incarcerated 5 times more than white people. And so this is sort of this thought of, well, is incarceration modern day enslavement? Very heavy topic, but a very real topic. There's a lot of organizations that are working to level the playing field, so to speak, provide proper representation to the incarcerated or the convicted, things like that. So while, you know, it's referencing an innocent childhood game, there's so much more loaded to it because of her experience and the materials that she's using. So we're only going to look at one more artist, but there are 3 other artists that are on view in this exhibition, but for the sake of time and time, we're only going to look at this last one. This is Letisa, gosh, I'm saying her name wrong. Letitia Huckabee. She is married to Cedric Huckabee. We've looked at Cedric's artworks here in the past. If you can remember the drawing of the man sleeping on the couch with the art, it was a black and white drawing, and he was asleep on the couch, and we were doing, I think, sleep or napping was the topic. That they own a gallery, the Kinfolk, in Fort Worth, that just recently opened in the last couple of years. She is traditionally a photojournalist, and this project, the curator was just talking to me about it this morning because I was out when they were doing the training on this, and it's so fascinating. So this is a photograph, a very large photograph, could almost be life size, of the sitter and the child on it, of a vintage sheet. And behind the vintage sheet, there's a grandmother and a grandchild sitting on her lap. On the actual canvas is embroidered "Seed of Charlie Lewis." Charlie Lewis, this is a very interesting history I knew nothing about, and there's apparently a really wonderful documentary on Netflix called The Descendants. There was in 1960, a slave trade ship that, and slave trade had stopped, I want to say in like 1808 or 1806. In 1860, there was a ship that came to Alabama with 110 Africans on the ship, and the ship was called Catilda. it was illegal in the United States to be bringing any new, the slave trade had been, outlawed. The ship came, there were 110 survivors, everybody survived that was on that ship, and then they were put in Alabama. The owners of the ship sunk the ship, and there was then this history or this storytelling of these 110 survivors said, we just got here from Africa. And everyone's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Your
Yeah.
family has been here. I mean, they were gaslit and no one believed them that they had come. And so, because all of the evidence had been destroyed, essentially. So in the last, I want to say 20 years, the ship had been, maybe even longer than that, the ship had been discovered and found on the ocean floor. And so now these stories had been validated. Well, they got here in 1860, the Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation, and everything happened. And so they weren't enslaved for as long as people who had been here for generation after generation. So there was a memory of what Africa was. There was a memory of actually arriving here on ship. And so they created their own town in Alabama called Africa Town. And this is where most of the people from this Catilda relocated. They're all descendants of people who arrived here in 1860. So this is one of the descendants of Charlie Lewis, someone who had arrived from Africa. And this series, there are other portraits taken. Leticia had met them through National Geographic, the photographing of Catilda, and met the descendants because of her photojournalistic background, and then started becoming friendly with the people who were descendants. They felt comfortable, and she started photographing them. So this series is really about the survival despite the treatment and the burying of the. I mean, we never learned about this in school, and this is a part of history, that isn't discussed or shared, or there was little known about it, because there was this destruction of the ship and this kind of nod of the family that did this was keeping it quiet. So it's a very complicated and sad and it's crazy history that we aren't well versed in. And now the series like this are exposing that type of history and that type of trauma, so we can learn it and we can understand where we came from and where we need to go. So it's very powerful.
Spell the name of the ship, please. I'm not understanding you.
Catilda, Clotilda.
Thank you. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, there's I haven't seen the documentary yet, but the curator had emailed us about it, and she said she's watched it so many times, but it's fascinating, the things they've been able to uncover since they had uncovered the ship.
So when did this truth actually come out about this ship?
I want to say it in the 2000s. I think it was
2000s.
Yeah, I want to say, and then in like 2018, more information came out. So this is fairly new history in terms of what the truth actually is.
No wonder we didn't hear about it in school.
Yeah, and
nobody would say anything about it.
No one knew about it. And this, yeah, I mean that they sunk the ship, and this is that we know of. The Catilda was the last ship of Africans on the slave trade that reached the U.S. So that we know of. So this is really a very recent history. I mean, 1860 is not that long ago that these people were brought to the United States. So there are a couple other artists, like I mentioned. It's a really powerful show. It's a really beautiful show, very thought-provoking. A lot of these are in conversation with historical pieces. So you can, I believe, go through the exhibition on our website. We have that Matterport where you can kind of tour the galleries, I believe, online. But if not, this is open until July 9th. So again, if you find yourself in Fort Worth, please come see.
Okay.
Peggy, thank you for staying
Thank you,
extra
Peggy.
long with us today.
Of course, I'm
Thank
glad
you,
to
yes.
chat with y'all. Next week, we're
Fabulous.
looking at photographs by Avedon. We've seen portraits of his, just one-offs in different conversations, but this time we have 4 of his portraits on view right now that they're celebrating his 100th birthday. He's no longer alive, but we're celebrating the centennial of Richard Avedon.
What's his name again, please?
Richard Avedon.
Abaddon.
Yeah, Avedon, he was a big name in New York for celebrities getting their portraits. We saw the picture of Marion, I believe, I can't remember her name, but she's the Black singer that sang on the stairs of the Lincoln Memorial when she was not allowed to sing in the
Mhm, mhm.
floor of the house.
Yes.
So we will look at that. And until then, I hope you guys have a lot to think about with the emancipation.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Peggy.
much, Peggy.
Thank you. You always
Thank
have
you,
good
thank you.
topics. Thank you.
Yeah,
Peggy.
well, I'm glad y'all, yeah, this is a good one. This exhibition is beautiful. I hadn't seen it since I've been back, so enjoy. All right,
Yes.
friends, I'll talk to y'all next week. Have a good
Thank
week.
you, Peggy.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.